I mentioned him before, chat, and that is Alistair, the radio demon, voiced by Roman Talali. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. And he is the hotel's facility manager. But there is a lot of mystery surrounding his character and what he really wants from Charlie and from hell itself. I think it's safe to say he's probably the show's most popular character for a variety of reasons. From his design, his mysterious motivations, and his constant plotting, his musical numbers, and his voice.
Oh, this will be fun.
So, for those that don't know, I'm a pretty big fan of adult animation. We live in a time where we are getting a lot of fantastic, just adult animated shows on television, streaming. And again, I'm just not talking about adult animated comedies like, Rick and Morty or The Simpsons. Don't! I'm talking about shows like Arcane, Castlevania, Blue Eye Samurai most recently. Shows that use the animated medium to present really mature stories and characters and situations that we don't really see in animated theatrical films, at least in the United States and in much of the West. And I think one of the most popular grassroots animated projects to do something like that have been the works of Vivian Medrano, with the pilot episode of Hazbin Hotel and its spin-off YouTube series, Hell of a Boss. And, while I've been really enjoying Hell of a Boss for years now, I and many others have been really looking forward to, Hazbin Hotel finally going to series with the backing of A24 and Amazon. For people that need a bit of an explanation, a background for the series itself, in an attempt to reduce hell's overpopulation and heaven's annual culling, the daughter of Lucifer, Charlie Morningstar, opens a rehabilitation hotel with the help of other misfits to offer demons a chance at redemption. First of all, I'm just so glad this series is finally here and I can talk about it in great detail. And there is a lot of detail in these first 4 episodes so far. So this is kind of like my general impressions of the series at the moment. I'll do another review later on of the full 8 episodes of season 1. The events of the pilot episode are canon to the rest of the series, so I do suggest actually watching that pilot before watching these first 4 episodes. But I do appreciate that we, get perhaps the most detailed explanation as to how hell, Charlie and her family, and the rest of this world came to be. Even the dramatic stakes of the series, I feel like, are radically scaled upward in regard to the threats to our characters and the story, which personally surprised me, since I was unaware of just the power structure between heaven and hell and demons and angels and overlords and sinners. It's like I was getting a lore course from Hellraiser, from the Cenobites.
Who are you?
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
So that immediately stuck out to me, but at least for now, a lot of the focus is on our cast of characters in this series. We get into their personalities and their problems and how it's all, related to the events taking place within the Hazbin Hotel. And I do want to kind of touch on some of these characters. We're introduced to Charlie Morningstar, played by Erica Henningsen. And she, of course, is the lead, and she's this kind of incredibly honest, earnest, and very wholesome, daughter of Satan. She is hopeful and naive to a degree, and, she feels heavily inspired by Disney characters, Disney princesses like Ariel, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and maybe a little bit of Elsa from Frozen 2. And I think because her attitude is just probably not what you would expect. All right, well, we're going to introduce to the son or the daughter of Satan, of Lucifer. They're probably going to be a nasty son of a bitch, but not in the case of her. I kind of like that she's the polar opposite of what a lot of people would think, and a lot of what we've kind of been exposed to in media for I mean, God, especially in animated form or even live action, just decades of content. And so I really like her as a character. I like her design. It's, it's very kind of almost clown-esque to a degree. She has this kind of like all white face, and she has like these rosy kind of like round cheeks. And she just has this like wonderfully bubbly personality that you can't like going, Charlie, you don't know what the hell's going on, do you? You see the best in people. And she does. She does often see the best in people. And I think that's what makes her charming, but that's what also kind of gets her into some trouble. And she makes some deals with some less than scrupulous people throughout the show, and deals with a lot of nasty folks as well. But I just really like her as a character. She's one of the bright spots of one of the many bright spots of this incredible series. Also introduces the character of Vaggie, played by Stephanie Beatrice, who people probably know her best for Brooklyn 911. And she's kind of like the Rock of our group of misfits. She attempts to corral everyone inside of Hazbin Hotel. She has this very dry, kind of deadpan way of speaking. She's, sarcastic, and, she's very protective of Charlie Morningstar, because that's also her girlfriend. And I'm actually looking forward to, because I like kind of like how Hell of a Boss like deals with a number of the romances and the affection between characters. I think they're actually quite cute and wholesome, especially between like Moxie and Millie, for instance, from Hell of a Boss. I kind of love that relationship and how they just suit each other so well. And we don't honestly get a lot of like interpersonal moments, a lot of like small intimate moments between Charlie and Vaggie early on these 4 episodes that are available. So I'm hoping that and not that they don't have like some good moments, they do have some good play, some good wordplay with each other, and they do express love towards each other. But I want to see kind of more of the kind of cute moments that we so often get from like Moxie and Millie and Hell of a Boss, and I'm sure we will. But I like their dynamic. You can tell that they really truly do care about each other. Another character we're introduced to is the character of Angel Dust, voiced by Blank Roman, who's technically the hotel's first patient, and he's like a porn star and a sex worker. He's kind of like this spider-esque demon, and he gets a lot of like the sex-themed humor, I would say, throughout the first 4 episodes. And I think like some of that stuff either lands or it doesn't. I actually like the voice work quite a bit. Kind of has this New Jersey, kind of has this New York, voice to him that I think suits the character very, very well. But like not every single joke or humorous bit like lands with me in regards to that character. I was like, okay, is this kind of what this character is only going to be like, throughout the entire series? This is going to be a lot of the sex-based humor is going to come from. But they actually do. To me, the character really did come into their own. With episode 4, we get a better sense of the world that they come from, who they often have to deal with in regards to their work, the sex work, and in the porn films that they make, and like in their mindset. I was like, oh wow! So it even though on the outside, it looks like it's kind of one-dimensional in regards to like how the character's being portrayed. There's a lot of other cool stuff and a lot of subtext, beneath all that. And by episode 4, I actually really liked what they ended up doing with the character of Anthony, of Angel Dust. And I'm curious to see what they're going to do more with them. And another character that kind of came into their own is the character of Husk, played by and voiced by, Keith David, who is the hotel's bartender and is in service to, Alistair, who's the radio demon and a powerful demon overlord. One, it's always great. I'm a big Keith David fan, as you guys know, watching so many John Carpenter movies, always great when he's popping up. And I mean, Keith David, of course, he's known for a lot of his live action material, both for decades ago and obviously nowadays too. He's a fantastic working actor. It was work, as he once said. But he's had a long career in animation. A series that you guys exposed me to, which I wish I watched this when I was younger, but the last few years, Chad, I've been watching Gargoyle, and he's the voice of Goliath in that series, and he is absolutely fantastic in that show.
Now here in Manhattan, the spell is broken, and we live again.
But then he's also done theatrical animated work for years as well. As Doctor, I loved him. He was actually my favorite part of the Princess and the Frog animated adaptation, kind of one of the last 2D Disney animated movies that we got. He's the villain, Dr. Facilier, I want to say. I mean, he has one of the best musical numbers in that entire movie. Are you ready?
Yeah. Are you ready?
And I was like, okay, proving that, like, Keith David, not only does he have that wonderful voice, he's a great actor, but he can sing. And they also give him a great music and dance number in this. It actually, funny enough, pairs him up with Angel. Even though those two characters have a lot of tension that we see in the first several episodes, I kind of like that so much of episode 4 like really focuses on their relationship, and they get a fantastic song. We learn more about him as to why he came into service to Alistair and you know what he used to be. It's like, oh shit, like there's a lot of cool reveals along the way with the show and with these characters. But I mentioned him before, chat. And that is Alistair, you know, the radio demon, voiced by Roman Talali. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. And he is the hotel's facility manager. But there is a lot of mystery surrounding his character and what he really wants from Charlie and from hell itself. I think it's safe to say he's probably the show's most popular character for a variety of reasons. From his design, his mysterious motivations and his constant plotting, his musical numbers, and his voice.
Oh, this will be fun.
You know, he speaks with a transatlantic accent as if it's coming through a radio. And it has all like the little artifacts and pops that come along with it, like listening to an old-time radio show. I mean, he's my favorite character so far, and probably a lot of people's favorite character. And everything that they've done with him up to this point has been amazing. There's still so much mystery surrounding him and why he's involved with Charlie and Hotel. But anytime he comes on screen, whether it's like a small little scene, whether it's humorous or sometimes dark, because he gets a lot of the darker material like in the series so far. And you was like, oh shit, you start paying attention. And other characters are kind of like put off by him. They don't know what his true motivations are, and that's what keeps me so engaged. Like, okay, what is this guy actually playing? Because they reveal some. Every episode they reveal like a little new tidbit about him, like where he was, what he's been doing. There's a mystery surrounding him, and he apparently has been away from hell for quite some time. We were like, we don't know why. It's been like 7 years, and now he's been brought back, and why is that? And all these characters are speculating. He's being very coy about it, and it's interesting. And he just has this incredible sense of self-confidence that I think you're just inevitably attracted to. Like, he's just so put together, and he knows he's very powerful, and he showcases that confidence all the time. Like, we haven't really seen him. It's interesting. I was like, has there been like a moment where it felt like he slipped, or he's actually revealed like, you know, his true emotion? Maybe there's like I would say maybe in episode 3 we see a little bit of it, that facade slightly falter, but it's so quickly back up again, you don't even know what you might have seen or what you could have saw. It's like, oh, I just really, really love the character so much. And the whole fan base is just, you know, been obsessed with him for so long, even though he only had that 30-minute pilot episode back in like 2019 or wherever it originally came out. But a wonderful character. And you have a ton of other characters as well. You have Sir Pentious and his Egg Boys, who's like one of the other residents of the Hazbin Hotel. He's like this snake-esque demon. And he has these like little, I don't even know what they really are, but I think they're like these little like animatronic like egg creatures. I'm like, hi, how you doing, boss? What can we do to help you? Like, that's how they speak. I love my Egg Boys, and they assist some other people in the episodes as well, including Alistair at one point, which is actually really interesting. Big major plot point actually involves the Egg Boys, and I thought they were really good. We also introduced like a ton of new villains too in this series. You know, Vox and the V's. Who control the television and many aspects of hell itself, social media and things. Like, you have Vox. I love his design. He has this, like, he's like the TV. He's called the TV demon. And he has this flat screen TV head. His predominant color is really blue. And he has this super intense rivalry with Alistair. We get hints of like what might have transpired between the two of them. And they get like one of the best songs in the series so far. Just back and forth, this dueling duet, if you will. So good. But then we also see the other Vs. We have Valentino, who's kind of like, is like this kind of like insect, like spider, like pimp, who's like super abusive to Angel Dust and many of his other sex workers. And then we have, I want to say her name is Vivian. I think that's the other character's name. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Viv. I forget. Oh, damn. I forget the other character's name, the other V, the third V. And she's like this social media demon. And she gets one of the other fantastic songs in this animated series as well. Love her design, her interaction between so many of the characters. I am going to play some music for you guys. I'm going to play some of these clips from the show that kind of show you it. I can't play so much because of copyright and things, but really love a lot of these new characters introducing. We also introduced several other interesting demon overlords as well, who are all like vying for power within hell itself. There's this one, I think Zazel, who is like one of the oldest of the demon overlords. And he talks in this like with like old English, this and thou and things. I really like that. He has like a interesting relationship with one of the other demon overlords and kind of like this friendly kind of rivalry with Alistair. It's interesting. And then even like characters from heaven itself, like Adam, who is the leader of the angels, who just wants to call hell as often as he can with his like deadly angels called executioners. And there's like the big reveal in regards to him that I think is very interesting, but he kind of has like this, at first he kind of has this dude bro attitude. It's like, hey, how you doing, babe? It's like, look at you thinking that you can do this all yourself with your vagina. Oh my God. Like he's kind of like that. He's like kind of like a frat boy, like the way he's speaking. But then he's like, he's not dumb. That's the thing about him. Like, he's not stupid. Like, he has a lot of nefarious machinations, behind the scenes, which I like. So they kind of trick you. They kind of trick you into like, oh, you think this one character is this one way, this is how they are. But then it's like, oh, shit, maybe a little bit of it's a facade, or they're actually more intelligent than you think. So a lot of the new characters you're introduced to, I think, is great. And all wonderful, really unique, fun designs, too. And like I said, a lot of these characters also have a number of musical numbers, which I really adore. Much of Vizzy Pop's work is clearly inspired by Renaissance era Disney films like Aladdin and Lion King, Hercules. I mean, you name it. You get some fantastic song and dance numbers that could easily be featured on a Broadway, show. And since the series contains a lot of Broadway talent itself, it makes sense that it feels that way, that it has that feeling throughout. If I have any like specific criticisms so far, and I kind of mentioned this before, I kind of hinted at this when I was talking about some of the other main cast members, supporting cast members, it's that the humor doesn't always land. There are some great jokes and gags in all these episodes, but there is a heavy reliance on overly sexual humor and a lot of swearing. And believe me, I'm no prude. But some of it felt unnecessarily, I don't know, extra and gratuitous. I know that's been a big part of Vizzy Pop's style, in the pilot of Hazbin Hotel and obviously in Hell of a Boss. But it doesn't always hit for me. But again, comedy is, as I said many, many times, is the most subjective of genres, and you might like it, what I might not like, you may like, and vice versa. It just, some of the humor didn't always work for me. But as we're gotten to know some of these characters and the dynamics have kind of changed and shifted, it's got a little more wholesome. That's when I think it's worked a little bit better. There's also some disturbing violence, both physical and sexual in nature. And I'm not really criticizing it at all because it's actually important to the characters and their stories and their growth, I feel like, and to display like what's actually going on behind the scenes. But I could see it surprising, shocking a lot of people, and perhaps even turning them off to it. I do think it's a bit of a niche show to a degree, hearkening back to, like, again, the Disney Renaissance era, but also it feels heavily inspired by 90s and early 2000s, like, Cartoon Network shows. Stuff like Cow and Chicken, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and Dexter's Laboratory. Like the character shapes and the line work is very reminiscent to those shows. But I personally like all that stuff. Since I grew up watching that, I mean, those are a lot of the shows that I was watching when I was a kid. And I love those, those various shows and those characters and how exaggerated and sometimes weird and even overtly sexual they were. For those, and I think it also is good for those that might be tired of that kind of Cal art style. I guess that's what it's called, Cal art style. Like, the oh God, what the hell is it called? For those that are kind of tired of that Steven Universe design, you might want to check this out because the designs are kind of like the absolute polar opposite of what I think we've been seeing over the last 15 years, which I think is great. But again, at this moment, I'm really enjoying the show a lot. It's got a lot of great things going for it. An interesting threat and mystery, some great characters, fantastic musical numbers that you'll be re-listening to countless times afterward, and I certainly have been. I recommend it if you're already obviously a fan of Hell of a Boss, and if you've obviously seen the pilot of Hazbin Hotel, and also if you wanted to see something a bit different from your prototypical animated fare. It has a lot going for it. Some things might not always work for you, but I just appreciate, like how I appreciate other adult animated stuff like Blue Eye Samurai or Arcane or Castlevania. It's showing, I think, a lot of people in the United States and certainly in the West that this is what you could do with animation. It's another medium. It doesn't always have to be for kids, and this show is definitely not for children, not at all. But I like that it's not. I like that it's geared towards adults. I like that it's geared towards adults that, like myself, that grew up with Renaissance era Disney movies. And let's get something that's a little, again, like more adult, a little more mature, a little darker, a little grittier, a little funnier. I think that you'll end up really liking something like this. And I'm excited to watch the next 4 episodes and do a more, comprehensive review. But so far, chat, I think it's very, very good, and I highly recommend it. But what about you guys? Have you guys been excited for this show? It's been in development for, God, at this point, nearly 5 years. And I think we're getting a lot of it. We're at the top, which is nice. Are you also fans of Hell of a Boss, which I also really recommend, which is on YouTube? Let me know.